under 16 starting December 10. Communication Minister Anika Wells announced the government plans to monitor migratory patterns to prevent teens from shifting to other platforms. Compliance checks begin December 11 with a 2-year review plan to assess the ban's impact. Wells called teenage addiction a deliberate design feature by tech companies.
Step up. They know and we know that this will not be perfect. But for Live, in 1 week, Australia will become the first country in the world to ban under 16s from having social media accounts. With one law, we can protect Generation Alpha from being sucked into purgatory by predatory algorithms described by the man who created the feature as behavioural cocaine. 2 years ago, I stood on this stage to outline Labor's aged care reform. E-safety will watch and respond to migratory patterns, and if LinkedIn becomes a secret online meeting place for under 16s, I will not hesitate to act. And e-safety will be conducting an evidence-based evaluation of the impacts of the law, good and bad, intended and unintended, to inform the government's 2-year statutory review. Cat on previously secret strategies by social media giants. Like I said, this law isn't set and forget. We're always going to look at ways to improve it, but I think for the most part, this is about changing the responsibility and the onus to being what do social media platforms owe us as their users as they seek to operate in our country. Yes, there will still be kids with accounts on 10 December, and probably for some. I find it outright weird that YouTube is always at pains to remind us all how unsafe their platform is in a logged out state. And if YouTube even this morning is reminding us all that it is not safe and that there is content not appropriate for age restricted users on their website, then that is a problem that YouTube needs to fix. That these platforms' internal drive is executed through aggressive, divisive content that... Who is getting slapped with the first $50 million fine on 10 December? The bureaucrats in this room will back me up here. Regulation rarely acts fast, and certainly not that fast. Information gathering and enforcement powers lay with the E-Safety Commission. But what you can expect on 11 December is that E-Safety will send notices to the 10 platforms we have named in our dynamic list. These notices will seek evidence, including how many underage accounts they had on 9 December before the law started and on 11 December after the law started. Those platforms will have time to reply before the next round of information requests are sent out, asking for updated numbers every month for 6 months. Targeted algorithms, persistent notifications, toxic Teenage addiction was not a bug, it was a design feature. And on 10 December, there are going to be withdrawal symptoms. Teenagers will be upset, some will fight to get back on, some will manage to find their way around the tech and keep their accounts. But I truly believe the short-term discomfort will be worth the long-term.
Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez has been pardoned by US President Donald Trump, ending his 45-year sentence for drug trafficking conspiracy charges. Hernandez's attorney Renato Stabile said that evidence used as a trial was extremely weak and relied heavily on testimony from violent narco traffickers. Stabile warned that Hernandez remains unsafe to return to Honduras. Trump's decision has sparked major political and diplomatic controversy, with critics arguing it undermines long-standing US anti-drug efforts.
Suéter color azul con sus jeans.
I have spoken with him. As you can imagine, he is incredibly relieved. He's happy. I think it's actually a little disorienting for him. He's been in jail, remember, for nearly 4 years. He has not seen his family in nearly 4 years because they were denied visas. They weren't even allowed to attend his criminal trial. So it's obviously been a long, long time, and I think he's just getting acclimated, but he's very grateful to President Trump, and he's very thankful.
Tanto, presidente, ya lo hablamos con su equipo, oportunidades de inversión, la seguridad es parte importante de la alianza con Estados Unidos, así de que
It's not clear at this time. I think the Libre Party, as you know, is still in power, and Honduras is having their elections and the results this week. So I think it's clear that the Libre Party will not win, but they will still be in power until January. So I'm not sure that it would be safe for him to go back. And of course, remember, President Hernandez was one of the most aggressive Latin American leaders when it came to going after the cartels and narco-terrorists. Now, the U.S. accused him of being a narco-terrorist himself, but his record speaks for itself, and it was actually under his watch that the extradition treaty with the United States was put back into place, and he extradited more narco traffickers than any other president. So he has a lot of concerns.
Un momento, traen ya, ya. Vamos, viene. Una chaqueta, un suéter color azul con sus jeans. Vamos.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has proposed slashing in the UN's 2026 crore budget by $577 million, including cutting 18% of jobs as the global body faces one of its worst cash crisis in decades. With $1.586 billion in areas, mostly from the United States, Guterres warned UN liquidity remains fragile. The proposed budget of $3.238 billion covers political, humanitarian, economic, social, and communications work. Here is a full breakdown of the numbers, reasons, and global implications.
Requirements for 2026 down to $3.28 billion US dollars, a reduction of $577 million or 15.1% compared with the 2025 appropriation. The proposed staffing table is revised to 11,594 posts, including special political missions, a reduction of 2,681 posts or 18.8% compared with the approved staffing table for 2025. To deliver these changes responsibly, the report also includes one-time costs related to separations and relocations, as well as requests for time-limited transitional capacities that will be needed in the areas of human resources, administration of justice, and legal affairs. Ambassador Orvat, Excellencies, liquidity remains fragile, and this challenge will persist regardless of the final budget approved by the General Assembly, given the unacceptable volume of arrears. We ended 2024 with $760 million US dollars in arrears, of which $709 million is still outstanding from 2024. We have also not received $877 million of 2025 dues, and so thus arrears now stand at $1,586 US dollars. I've repeatedly appealed to member states to pay their assessed contributions in full and on time. And we continue to manage cash flows carefully, well below budget levels, and have proposed temporarily suspending the return of credits to safeguard liquidity and avoid disruption of program implementation. It is difficult for us to give back money that we have not because we didn't receive it. And so it is very important to find a solution for this question, a temporary solution.
The Kremlin says Russia and the United States made no progress toward a peace agreement in Ukraine following talks between President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump. Special envoy Steve Witkoff, joined by Jared Kushner, Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov, called the meeting constructive, but confirmed both sides failed to reach a compromise on key disputes, especially territorial issues. Here is what happened and what it means next.
Беседа была весьма полезной, конструктивной, весьма содержательной и продолжалась не 5 минут, а 5 часов. К российско-американскому и украинскому досье, и в частности, мы, естественно, с американскими коллегами обсудили содержание тех проектов, тех документов, которые американцы какое-то время назад передали в Москву, прошлись по этим документам. Мы не обсуждали конкретные формулировки, конкретные американские предложения, а обсуждали суть того, что заложено в эти американские документы. С чем-то мы могли согласиться, и президент это подтвердил своим собеседникам. Что-то у нас вызвало критику, и президент тоже не скрывал наше критическое и даже отрицательное отношение к ряду предложений. Активное участие в подготовке тех документов, которые... Конечно, он начался с того, что представители Трампа передали приветы и наилучшие пожелания от своего президента Владимиру Владимировичу Путину. И в свою очередь наш президент попросил партнеров передать дружеские приветы Трампу. И причем он передал, естественно, не только дружеские приветы, но он попросил передать и целый ряд важных политических сигналов, которые его собеседники зафиксировали, и, естественно, доложат об этом в Вашингтоне. Я не могу раскрывать.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he sees a little bit of optimism surrounding ongoing peace efforts, pointing to the increasing pace of negotiations and renewed US engagement in diplomatic channels. Speaking at the event during his visit to Dublin on December 2, Zelensky emphasized that Washington appears committed to continuing dialogue aimed at resolving the conflict with Russia.
Good to see you. How are you? Very well. How are you? Nice to see you again. Certainly. I got it. 6 times.
Please, can I ask you to be upstanding and give a warm round of applause to Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Thank you so much.
For your bravery and your fortitude in the face.
It is with real great pleasure to introduce now on stage His Excellency Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Please join us. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Really, between us, it's very difficult to comment the words of leader of Russia, because he really doesn't want to finish this war, because he didn't get all the goals what he wanted at the very beginning of this aggression. He wanted to destroy us totally, our freedom, our people, but he really been very surprised. Everybody understands who knows him and who doesn't, and that he didn't get any real goal what he wanted. Putin, I mean, this, he now he's thinking how to find new reasons not to finish this war. And we count on pressure from the United States and the people of the world. I think so. They are a very strong country. And they said that we have to work on this plan, and they will pressure on both sides. Of course, we wanted them to be more on our side, but okay, mediator. So, and they began to pressure both sides, and we supported the ideas. It's a little bit optimism was in my words because of the some.
The Louvre Museum in Paris has officially reopened its newly renovated painting and sculpture galleries, marking one of the most significant upgrades to its exhibition spaces in recent years. Visitors are now returning to halls restored with improved lighting, modern climate control systems, and updated layouts designed to highlight both iconic works and lesser-known masterpieces.
Bonjour, oui, parce qu'on nous avait pas dit. Enfin, pardon. Bonjour. C'est délesté d'une partie de l'équipe.
Alors rénover, ça veut dire décrocher tous les tableaux, les envoyer en réserve, les inspecter, les dépoussiérer, faire des petites restaurations, prendre des décisions de restauration plus fondamentales, plus importantes qu'on a lancées, ou qu'on a eu le temps de faire. Et ça veut dire revoir tous les équipements techniques, sûreté, éclairage, accrochage, et repeindre les murs et choisir une couleur qu'on estime juste pour les murs.
Pour repenser cet espace, il paraissait donc assez naturel, logique, que les deux équipes des deux musées, le musée du Quai Branly, puisque toutes ces œuvres appartiennent au musée du Quai Branly et cet espace est géré par le Quai Branly, entrent en... Cette galerie ne soit plus la galerie de 4 continents, mais la galerie des 5 continents, et qu'elle pose enfin les questions à l'échelle de la création.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Krasnoarmeysk, formerly known as Pskov, is now fully under Russian control, describing the city as a strategically decisive location and a key Ukrainian stronghold. The declaration marks one of the most significant battlefields claims from Moscow in recent months. Putin said Russia is prepared to guarantee the safety of foreign journalists who wish to travel to the area and independently verify the situation on ground. The offer follows heightened international scrutiny of battlefield claims from both Kyiv and Moscow.
Этому городу придавалось и придается и украинской стороной, и российскими вооруженными силами действительно особое значение, потому что этот город является как бы не просто большим инфраструктурным объектом, связанным с целой сетью средств сообщения с регионом, но самое главное заключается в том, что в целом, выражаясь, так скажем, военным языком, это хороший плацдарм для решения всех задач, поставленных в начале специальной военной операции. То есть отсюда, с этого плацдарма, с этого участка российской армии удобно двигаться во всех направлениях, которые сочтет наиболее перспективными Генеральный штаб. Вот именно поэтому он и украинской стороны всегда обозначался в качестве одного из приоритетов в Донецкой Народной Республике, но и нашими вооруженными силами тоже. Наряду с рядом других укрепрайонов. А это тоже один из мощных укрепрайонов был. А сегодня он полностью находится в руках российской армии, как вот доложил совсем недавно командующий группировкой «Центр». Вопрос этот возникает, видимо, в связи с чем...
Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said there is still a consensus among NATO member states over Ukraine's potential accession, underscoring ongoing divisions inside the alliance as the war with Russia continues. Rutte, who is set to become NATO's next Secretary General, emphasized that discussions are ongoing, but the agreement on Ukraine's membership timeline remains distant. QE has reportedly pressed for clearer scrutiny guarantees and arguing that NATO entry is essentially for long-term stability and deterrence.
I would like to come back to the peace negotiations because you said that...
Turning to Ukraine, we all recognize that our security is deeply linked. And we are all working to bring the war against Ukraine to an end with a just and lasting peace. We welcome the ongoing efforts led by the United States to make this a reality. And I'm confident that these sustained efforts will eventually restore peace in Europe.
Fourth row in the very center intersects Ukraine.
Well, when it comes to the NATO elements, obviously, when it comes to the NATO elements of a deal to end the war against Ukraine, that will be dealt with separately, and that obviously will include NATO.
The absence of US Secretary of State Rubio tomorrow is a sign for the relevance of NATO in that?
Marco Rubio is very much involved, of course, in all of this when it comes to ending the war in Ukraine. You've seen him chairing the meetings in Geneva and in Miami. I've been and the teams are in constant contact. I personally am in constant contact with him. So he's working extremely hard, having to take care not only of the situation in Ukraine, but of course many other issues which are on his plate. So I totally...
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro turned the political rally into a spectacle as he danced to his vital "No War, Yes Peace" remix, chanting in English while addressing US military activity in the Caribbean. Supporters cheered as Maduro mocked crazy war rhetoric, celebrated Christmas spirit and delivered a message of peace to the United States. The rally just came as President Donald Trump prepared for high-level discussion on Venezuela's following his confirmed phone call with Maduro.
El pueblo de Venezuela, el pueblo de La Guaira, de Caracas.
Una seguridad absoluta, que así como juré frente al cuerpo de nuestro comandante Chávez antes de despedirlo, lealtad absoluta a costa de mi propia vida y tranquilidad, yo les juro a ustedes lealtad absoluta hasta más allá de los tiempos que podamos nosotros vivir esta historia hermosa y heroica. Tengan la seguridad que jamás les fallaré, jamás, nunca jamás. Su vicepresidente. Hemos vivido 22 semanas de una agresión que se puede calificar como terrorismo psicológico. Son 22 semanas que nos han puesto a prueba y el pueblo de Venezuela ha puesto a prueba su amor a la patria. Si hace 22 semanas amábamos a Venezuela, hoy la amamos infinitamente y estamos dispuestos a seguir defendiéndola y a llevarla a caminos seguros de paz. Impresionantes imágenes. Le tengo malas noticias al imperio y le tengo
Hong Kong authorities say that death toll from the city's deadliest fire in decades has risen to 156, with 127 victims identified as far. Police have arrested 15 people linked to renovation and scaffolding works at Wong Fuk Court, where substandard materials allegedly fueled the rapid spread of the blaze across 7 high-rise towers. Officials also announced that residents will receive one-off chance to return and retrieve belongings, while key evidence such as the green construction mesh will remain in place for investigation.
咁喺過去嗰幾日咧，警方咧就已經完成咗5棟大廈嘅搜索工作啦，包括係宏仁閣、宏道閣、宏建閣、宏盛閣同埋宏泰閣嘅5棟大廈嘅搜索工作。咁剩翻嗰2棟，即係宏昌閣同埋宏新閣咧，我哋分別係完成咗4成同埋9成嘅搜索工作㗎啦。宏昌係4成，宏新係9成嘅搜索工作。咁咧，我哋嘅搜索工作咧，喺今日大約咧1點鐘咧，我哋係暫停咗嘅，因為喺嗰段時間咧，有幾個路祭嘅安排咧係進行之中。我哋停嘅原因。
Pope Leo concluded his 3-day visit to Lebanon with an emotional farewell ceremony at Beirut's International Airport. Marking the end of a historic trip that resonated deeply across the country, the visit filled with symbolic stops and meetings with political leaders, religious figures and families of Beirut. Port blast victims highlighted the Pope's message of unity, dignity and renewed hope for the Lebanese people. That's all for now. Stay tuned to CVR English.